Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you how to chain to chain rings on your Shimano crankset. So this will apply to any of the 4 bolt cranksets, so like a 105 5800, Dura-Race 9000, 6800 Ultegra, Tiagra 40 700, anything like that that uses the 4 bolt setup. This will apply to that. So let's go ahead, let's get stuck into it. Right, so the first step is we've got to remove the crankset from the bike so we can go ahead and change out the chain rings. So what you want to do is you can either drop your chain off of the front crankset by just pulling forward on the front, on the rear derailleur, so your chain goes slack and then you can drop it off. Or the best thing to do is remove it. Now if you've got a quick link in there, it's simple to remove with the pliers. So you can go ahead and remove that, squeeze them together, just remove the link. And depending on how old your chain is, you may need to replace it with a brand new one, because there's no point in putting brand new front chain rings on if you're going to put a worn out chain back on. So we'll just remove that out of the way for now. You can check your chain later to make sure it doesn't need replacing, because likelihood is it might do. So once we've done that, we can go ahead and get onto the left hand crank arm and go ahead and remove the crankset. So now we're on the non-drive side, the left hand crank arm. So what you need to remove that is a 5mm hex head for the 2 bolts there, and you also need a tool like that to remove the nut out the end. So that's a Shimano Hollowtech removal tool for the end, for the nut and the end. So first thing to do is just crack undone the bolts holding the crank arm on, so loosen those off quite a few turns. You don't have to remove them, you just have to slacken them off. So slacken them off. So once you've done that, you slacken them off enough, you can go ahead and get your tool. Now there's a hex on the back of it, so you may need a hex on there, but you shouldn't do either a spanner or socket, because that nut there, you should just be able to undo it by hand like that. It shouldn't be too tight enough that you need a spanner on there, but you never know. If you've never had yours off before, you might need to put a spanner or a socket on the end of there to undo it. But like I said, it should just come undone by hand. So remove that nut out the end, just a plastic nut in the end there, like that. Put that to one side, and then what you want to do is, in the centre there of the arm, there's just a plastic tab there, so you just want to lift that up so it's proud of the arm, so it's sticking up. Otherwise, if that's not up, you won't be able to take the arm off of the actual shaft. So once you lifted that up, you should just be able to slide the arm off like that. So once you've got the arm off, what you need to do is just get yourself a plastic or rubber mallet to just give that a tap to knock it back out through the opposite way. So we'll just give that a tap like that, and then you can go ahead and just pull it out from the from the drive side, from the right hand side. Slide it on through like so. So that's the crankset removed. Right, so once you remove the crankset from the bike, what we're after doing then is removing the 4 bolts you can see there. Now those are T30 Torx bits, the size of those, so T30. So you either need a small ratchet like that, or a larger one, depending on what you've got. So with a bit in the end, what you want to do is just locate those, so you undo them, just crack them undone, one a bit at a time. So just crack one of them undone, so once it's moved, move on to the next one. So you should just be able to hold on the crank arm and undo them, depending on how tight they are. You might need, like I said, a bigger ratchet. So we've just undone them, so they're loose. then you should just be able to get the bit itself without the ratchet on there, and just undo and remove each one individually. So once you remove the 4 bolts there, that's what they look like once they're removed. Just go ahead, you can lift off the inner chain ring, put that to one side, and then the outer chain ring, that comes off like that. Then you can just lift out the arm through the middle of it like so. So you're just left with the component pieces. At this stage, if you wanted to purchase some different size chain rings, say if you've got a compact at the minute and you wanted to change to a mid-compact, then you can go ahead and purchase like a 52-36 if you want a mid-compact. This happens to be a 50-34 compact, so say you can purchase the different chain rings now if you're not happy with yours, and they fit. Doesn't matter what size they are, they all go on the same arm, so that's not a problem. You can purchase different size. So once you've got them removed, what you want to do is clean up any old grease or anything off of, and dirt off of the arm itself, especially where the mounting points are for the chain rings, and obviously clean up the spindle through the middle, degrease all that and clean it up properly. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get the new chain rings and get them fitted. Right, so once you've got the crank arms cleaned up, then you're ready to go ahead and install your new chain rings. So what you want to do then is just get the chain ring like that and pass the arm through so it goes over like that, and sit that in place. It should just drop into place like that, and then turn it over, and on the inside the lugs just go inside the bolt holes there like that, so you know it's in place. And then with your inner chain ring, what you want to do is make sure you've got it the right way around before you put it over, so you can see the writing on it there where it says Shimano 11 speed, says the size on there, and the bolt holes like that, you see they're dished so that faces up at you like that. And also there's a bump there, you see that bump, that goes in line with the crank arm. So if you drop that over with the bump facing the crank arm in line, so you drop that over and put that in place on there. So you have to keep hold of it and just drop it in place, otherwise if you don't keep hold of it, it just fall apart. So once you've done that, you get your bolts. Now what I like to do before you put your bolts in is just get some anti-seize down in the bolt holes there, just put a little bit in there on the threads, just stop them getting stuck in at a later date. It's better to do that than have them getting stuck in there, so just put a little bit in each one. So once you put that in, you can just put your bolts in and get one started in there like that. Then what you want to do is just nip that one up so it's just holding it like that, and then just do another one just so we can get it held, so we can let go of it and it's not going to fall apart. So just put another one in. They should start easily. Just make sure you don't cross thread them when you're putting them in. So just nip that one up just to get it held in place like that. Just put a little bit of anti-seize in there. Then you can do the last two the same, get those in. Just snug them down for now. So once you just got them nipped in place like that so they're held, then what you want to do is get your ratchet, and then we just tighten those up. Now the best way to do it is just snug them one at a time, don't do them up fully each one, just tighten that one down a little bit and then move across to the opposite side and tighten that one down till it stops like that, and then do the opposite like that. Just do them opposites. So once you got them tightened down, then you go ahead and torque them up. So you get your torque wrench, so 6 to 8 Newton meters on those. You just torque those down, and again just do them opposites when you're torquing them up. So once you torqued them all up, that's a new chainrings fitted, so we're ready to go ahead and fit it back on the bike. Right, so when it comes to refitting the crankset, what you want to do first is make sure that you've got some grease on the shaft that's going to go through. So just grease over that. Put plenty on there, like that. And then what we do is we just slide that back through. So you just offer it up. Just give that a wipe round in your bottom bracket there to wipe any old grease out before you go ahead and slide this back through, just in case there's any old grease in there. Just wipe that out first. You can put a bit of grease in there if you want on your finger on the either side before you slide it through, just to help it. And just offer that up and then push it through like that. Make sure it's gone right the way through till it stops. Then we'll go ahead, we'll move round to the left hand arm. Right, so here we are on the opposite side. What you want to do is just put a bit of grease on there where the splines are first. Make sure you clean your crank arm up, any old grease and dirt on it as well before you refit it. Then you want to put it on the opposite way, so that one's pointing down, this one will be pointing up, and there's a bigger slot notch on the top of it there which will correspond with the notch up inside your arm itself. So just go ahead, line them up, and it should, if you got it lined up in the right place, it should slide straight on. Make sure it is right on there, like that. Once you've done that, then the nut you removed out the end earlier, you can go ahead and thread that in. So just do that up, and you just want to do that up until it stops moving. So as soon as it stops moving, then that'll be tight enough. There's no point in tightening it right up because you're just putting too much load on the bearings. That's all it's doing. So you just want to stop. The torque on that is like 0.5 Newton meters, so it's absolutely nothing. So as soon as it stops moving, stop doing it up. Otherwise you can over tighten it. So you just tighten it like that, and that's plenty. Obviously make sure your arm spins nice and free. It's not really hard to move. If it's really hard to move, then you're putting too much load on it, or your bottom bracket could be worn out as well. So once you've done that, what we want to do is the lug that's sticking up, the plastic lug in there, is push that back down so as it's flush with the arm, like that. And then we'll do your bolts up again. It's 5mm hex head, so just do one at a time. Do one till it stops like that. Then just repeat that on that side. Do that one up. Do the same again. Just do them up even, so the gap's even there. So once you've got them done up enough, then you go ahead and just torque those up. So they're 12 to 14 Newton meters on those. Just get your torque wrench on that. and do those up. Like that. So we can go ahead and put the chain back on. Right, so we got the chain refitted back on there. Now, like I said earlier, if you don't know the history of your chain, or you want to know how worn it is, the best thing to do is just get a chain tool like this to measure the wear in the chain. They're easy enough to use, and it could save you wearing out your sprockets unnecessarily, and also gives you a clue when to replace your chain. So all you do is it's got 2 marks on there, 0.75 or 1 millimetre of wear. So if you just drop that in, just put that in like that, just drop it in depending on which way you got it up. So that's 0.75, so that's the first one to check. So if you just check that and it doesn't fall in, that doesn't drop right in there. What you want to do is have the bike on the ground to check that, and just put a bit of pressure on the crank so the chain is tight, and then see if it drops in. If it drops in, then you know that it's at least 0.75 worn, and if you turn it over, that'll be 1 millimetre. So if that drops in, then you know the chain's definitely due for replacement. You see there it doesn't drop in. If it dropped right in, then you know that needed replacing definitely. So say they're cheap enough and simple enough to use, and it could save you wearing out your sprockets, your cassette or your chain rings unnecessarily. So just get one of those, very simple to use. So if you found the video helpful, if you did, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.